I'm a sociopath, and I have a wild case of DID.
She thought she had ended it all. A daughter, her parents. A life she thought was spinning out of control. But what actually happened on that September day in 2022 in Ocala, Florida, would shock a community, change lives forever, and leave a courtroom in stunned silence. This is the story of Christina Anne Adams, a 33-year-old woman who went from being a daughter in a family to a murderer in the eyes of the law. Christina grew up in Ocala, a city that seemed quiet and safe, the kind of place where neighbors knew each other and families took pride in their homes. She was described by people who knew her as intense, sometimes moody, but largely normal. No one could have predicted the violence that would erupt one fateful day. Before we dive into the story, if you are new to this channel, hit that subscribe button and notification so that you won't miss any of our uploads. Now, back to the story. On September 16, 2022, her parents, Richard and Sally Langer, had a simple yet firm conversation with Christina. She was living in their home and they had made a decision. It was time for her to move out. They had explained their reasoning, concerned for their own safety and for Christina's future, hoping she would find independence. But Christina did not hear it as guidance. She heard it as rejection. As anger built in her chest, something snapped. Words turned into violence, and in a terrifying instant, the mother-daughter dynamic was destroyed. Christina attacked her father, Richard, with a knife, stabbing him multiple times in a rage she could not control. Then she turned on her mother, Sally, intending to strike her as well. The scene was chaotic, filled with screams, fear, and disbelief. Neighbors later described the house as eerily quiet afterward, with a sense that something irreversible had just happened. Believing she had accomplished the worst, Christina left the house. She walked into the outside world as if nothing had happened, going about her day, even shopping, thinking she had escaped accountability. But she had underestimated one thing: the human will to survive. Richard Langer, gravely wounded, had managed to reach out for help before his life slipped away. His call for emergency services saved his wife and ultimately ensured justice could be sought. By the time authorities arrived, the scene told a horrifying story. But it was clear that Christina's actions had gone beyond a moment of rage. They were calculated and violent. The community reacted in shock. How could a daughter, someone entrusted with love and care, turn on her own family so brutally? Media outlets quickly picked up the story, labeling it one of the most disturbing domestic attacks in Ocala in recent memory. When the case went to trial, the courtroom was tense. Jurors, neighbors, and even the media crowded to hear the testimony. Details emerged of the stabbing, the moments Christina thought she had succeeded in ending her parents' lives, and the aftermath that left her parents fighting for survival. Christina's demeanor in court was notable. Some described her as detached, almost incredulous at the attention the trial drew. She admitted to the stabbings but tried to downplay her intent, a defense that would not hold up against the overwhelming evidence. The prosecution painted a clear picture. This was not an accident. This was a violent, deliberate act in response to being told she had to leave her parents' home. The mother, Sally Langer, testified about the attack and her struggle to survive, her words shaking the courtroom. She described the terror of seeing her daughter commit such violence, and the physical and emotional toll it took on her and her husband. Every detail brought the jury closer to understanding the depth of the crime. Witnesses described Christina's behavior after leaving the home, how she acted as if nothing had happened, creating a stark contrast with the horror left behind. Emergency responders recounted the scene inside the home, painting a vivid picture of the injuries, the blood, and the chaos that Christina had left in her wake. After days of testimony, the jury deliberated. They had seen the evidence, heard from the victims, and understood the premeditation behind Christina's actions. On April 17, 2025, Judge Timothy McCourt delivered a sentence that reflected the severity of the crime. Christina Anne Adams was sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms, one for the murder of her father, Richard Langer, and one for the attempted murder of her mother, Sally Langer. The verdict left the courtroom in silence, a mixture of relief, shock, and sorrow. For the community, justice had been served, but the emotional scars of that day would linger forever. Christina's actions had destroyed the sense of safety in a home once thought to be secure, proving that betrayal and violence could come from the most unexpected places. Today, Christina remains in prison, serving her sentence without the possibility of parole. Her parents, though forever scarred by the events, have focused on healing and rebuilding their lives. The story of that day serves as a chilling reminder of how quickly family bonds can be shattered, and how one moment of rage can irreversibly change lives. This was the story of Christina Anne Adams, a daughter who turned against her own family, and the tragedy that followed. A case that shocked Ocala, captured headlines, and left a mark that will not soon be forgotten. If you want more stories like this, stories of shocking crimes, courtroom drama, and the human emotions that make these cases unforgettable, hit the subscribe button now. We cover the most compelling true crime stories from around the world, bringing you the facts, the timelines, and the people behind them.